Right. Okay, right. Yeah, because I've seen those signs in
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
Everyone had a good Thanksgiving? Lots of good food, sweet potato pie, turkey, all the great carbs. I love it. All right. Well, welcome to the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture's December 1st, 2025 public meeting at the Silver Spring Civic Center, 1 Veterans Plaza, and none other than Silver Spring, Maryland. So happy to be here. I will be doing the roll call for commissioners. We have commissioners and staff joining us virtually and commissioners and staff here in person. So first, Chair Kali Aset Amen. Try it again. Kali Aset Amen. We will skip, I'm sure she's here. Vice Chair Jalen Money.
Present.
Commissioner Rochelle Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Jean Bailey.
Present.
Commissioner Lori Bradford. Commissioner Dina Daly. Commissioner Mark Glaze. Commissioner Walter Gill.
Present.
Commissioner Gina Marie Lewis. Commissioner Joy T. Mohan. Commissioner Brian Morrison.
Present.
Commissioner Robert Patterson.
Present.
Commissioner Ada Pinkston. Commissioner Bridget Jones-Smith.
Virtual.
I'm sorry?
She's here.
I was like virtual. Yeah. Commissioner Hakeem Tajani. Commissioner Chrissy Michelle Thornton. Commissioner Althea. Oh, okay. Commissioner Althea Smith Withers. And am I missing anyone? Commissioner Ada Pinkston, I see you, ma'am. Anyone else? Commissioner Kennedy Wilson.
Present, virtually.
Anyone else I'm missing? Commissioner? Good? All right. And that is the roll call. And I will... Oh, Commissioner Wesley Wood. I'm sorry, sir. All right. We're good? All right. And I'm going to pass it over to offer welcome by Vice Chair Jalen Money and Commissioner Jean Bailey.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd just like to briefly ask everyone to rise. Those who are on virtually, come off of mute. We're going to be singing the Negro National Anthem. And Commissioner Wilson, are you prepared to lead us, or shall I? Ready? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the the glistening skies, bless the springtime, loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the dark that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. And at this time, Commissioner Bailey, will you deliver our welcome?
Good morning. Good morning again. My name is Jean Bailey, and it is my honor to represent Montgomery County on the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture. I am delighted to welcome you all, the commissioners, and to host the commission here at the Civic Center in downtown Silver Spring, within Montgomery County's vibrant, multicultural cultural district. Today I'm especially pleased to recognize two distinguished African American leaders who have played a significant role in shaping Montgomery County's history. I think he's on the way. It is three-term county executive, recently retired Ike Leggett, who's also the first African American to be elected to the county council in Montgomery County. So he is on his way, and we look forward to seeing him. Also, we're very fortunate to have Will Jawando, who is vice chair of the county council and was the second African American to be elected to the Montgomery County Council. And he is now vice chair, and so we are very, very pleased with Mr. Jawando's dedication to equity, opportunity, and the empowerment of all residents as he continues to strengthen the fabric of our county. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Councilman Will Jawando, since he has to leave, I think, early to go to a council meeting, to come and give readings.
Good morning. And thank you, Dr. Bailey. It's good to be with you all this morning. I'm Will Jawando. I'm the we call it vice president, vice chair, same thing, of the Montgomery County Council. I'm an at-large member and been on the council for 7 years. I want to acknowledge my colleague and friend, Delegate Charlotte Crutchfield, who is here as well, and does a great job representing Montgomery County. Thank you for hosting this commission meeting here. I know you have to move around the state, but we're really happy to have you. As was mentioned, Ike Leggett was elected as the first African American to the council in 1986. And I was the second elected countywide in 2018. So it just reminds you that we got a lot of time in between there. We've got a lot of work to do. I'm mindful that we're meeting right now in the moment where people are trying to literally take items out of the History Museum downtown. There's several in Montgomery County, a lot of Maryland items in that museum. We've got our own Montgomery history here, who's got a lot of great items here in Montgomery County. We are home to some of the oldest African American communities in the state here. Dozens of them, like Sandy Spring, where I live, and Prathertown, and Scotland, and many of whom formerly enslaved folks claimed bought and owned land and then obviously had it taken away. We're working actively through our Remembrance and Reconciliation Commission, which I co-authored a bill to create years ago to document the 3 men who were lynched, pulled out of the building I work in now, 2 of them, and lynched in Rockville and in Poolsville. They have been honored with memorials across our county, but now we're moving to the reconciliation part of the work. And how do we make sure that the land that was taken, the history is told, of course, correctly, but how do we make sure it connects to today? And so I'm really happy that you're here in Montgomery County talking about the work that Maryland has to do at a time such as this. So welcome. You are in one of the top 10 most diverse cities in the United States of America, right here. And I often remind people that Silver Spring, Gaithersburg, Germantown, and Rockville on the top 10 list with Chicago, New York, and all of them. So you can tell your friends that later. But really looking forward to the work, and please let me know how I can be supportive of your work as we work statewide with our governor and with the commission to make sure that we not only remember the history, but we remember how it's connected to what we're dealing with today, those challenges and opportunities. So God bless you and thank you for coming.
Right. Thank you for that. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the minutes from the October public meeting on October 6th. So, commissioners, you should have that. That was on the left-hand side of my folder, but Mr. Herbert did send these around for review, and I believe expected feedback by November 20th. So, I move to accept the public meeting minutes from the October meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Patterson. All those in favor? Thank you. The meeting minutes from the October meeting have been favorably seconded and approved. And now we'll move into recognition of our featured speakers. Yep.
Okay, good morning again. As the host for the commission here in Montgomery County, I had the privilege of being able to help to organize our guest speakers for today. And so what I decided to do was to highlight the historical research on the African diaspora, some that was mentioned by Councilman Jawando, and long-term county residents. We're going to first, we have several speakers. One is Dr. Nonso Obikili, who is a program specialist with the Routes of Enslaved Peoples Resistance, Liberty, and Heritage Program out of UNESCO, which is a program that was established in 1994 based on the work of our illustrious Dr. Joseph Harris, whom we are privileged to have in our presence today, and whose map was copyrighted in 1992, and he's going to speak on that. So we're happy all the way from Paris to have Mr. Obikili to greet us. Mr. Obikili.
Thank you, Professor Brady, and thank you for the opportunity to present this work. Professor Bailey said, the Roots of Enslaved Peoples program was launched in 1994 with big thanks to Professor Harris. And the program tries to, on the one hand, properly remember the history, legacy of enslavement, but also to remember to think about the consequences for contemporary societies around the world. And we do this through a couple of different strands of work. The first is on research and knowledge production, where we try to support academics and other researchers around the world to continue to break the silence on the history and the legacies of enslavement and the slave trade. Some of you may know Professor Harris was a pioneer again in this aspect. We still use some of his works, like some of his maps in UNESCO and around the UN system, to help shed more light on this history and make sure it's not forgotten. A second line of work is on memorialization, and I'll talk a bit about that just in a few minutes and a very short period of time. But to try to remember the spaces that are intrinsically linked to the history. And to ensure these spaces are not misinterpreted and that they remain grounded on proper academic foundations. The third line of work is on education, where we try to promote innovative education initiatives to teach the young generation, the next generation, about the history and legacy and why it's important for understanding the world that we live in today. And finally, we try to support different member states on different actions to recover, in some sense, from the legacy of enslavement and the slave trade. Whether this be through collective healing initiatives, through dialogues for reparatory justice, or other kind of policy actions around repair. So I know I have a very short period of time, but I think this strand of work is perhaps the most relevant for you all. Last year, we relaunched what we call the Network of Places of History and Memory, linked to enslavement and the slave trade. And for this, we wanted to bring together a global network of places that are relevant for the history, for understanding the history and sharing about the history of the slave trade. The idea here is to support preservation of significant places and to really try to contribute to local communities and local populations in terms of their understanding and their teaching of the history. Right now, we have 28 places in 13 member states, and we hope that as time goes on, we will continue to expand this network with more and more places that can be used as spaces for understanding, for learning, and for teaching about the history and the consequences of enslavement and slavery. So this in a nutshell is, I'm happy to continue to engage with all of you as time goes on, maybe after this meeting. But I want to again thank Professor Harris for his initial support and his continuous support to the program, and to just say that you have allies around the world that will continue to support to keep the message alive. Mission of the memory is not forgotten, and that we continue to understand the consequences of that history. On that note, I will stop here and say thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obikili, for joining us today, and also for the work that you're doing on behalf of all of us at the UNESCO Routes of Enslaved Peoples. Before we move into our further discussion of the Heritage Trail that we are now sponsoring for the state of Maryland, I'd like to also introduce another Montgomery County Marylander, Mr. Tony Cohen, who has been doing some extraordinary work related to the Underground Railroad. So he is also going to share that with you. Thank you.
It's not going to work. All right. I talk with my hands, so I'll be careful. My name is Tony Cohen. I am the president and founder of the Menare Foundation, Inc. And I think we have some slides. Great. I want to talk a little bit about the Underground Railroad in Montgomery County. I first became involved in researching the Underground Railroad in the early 1990s while I was at American University. And for my senior project in 1993, I was supposed to find some part of American history that had gone unrecorded. So I chose the topic of the Underground Railroad. Next, please. At the time, I was volunteering at the Montgomery County Historical Society, known today as Montgomery History. And I used my volunteer time on the weekends in the library to also research my paper for school. So I double dipped there. Next, please.
Sorry, because I had to share that picture.
Oh, no problem. The Underground Railroad, how do you find something which by its very nature is not supposed to be found? You go to primary sources, but where do you find those? So in 1993, Oh, there we go. I knew of Harriet Tubman, who's on the top left. Knew her story. She's from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. But it took me a while to discover people like William Still on the top right, who was the station master of the Underground Railroad in Philadelphia, who kept a ledger for 10 years of all the people who came through his station. And we have since discovered about 15 people who went through his station who were from Montgomery County. And that kind of opened the door. The young gentleman on the bottom left is no gentleman at all. That's Anne Maria Weems, an enslaved 14-year-old girl from Rockville, Maryland, who escaped to William Still driving a coach disguised as a coach boy. So all of a sudden, different people, heroes of a bygone era, started to emerge. And then going to the courthouse, finding cases of people who were tried and convicted of harboring freedom seekers, runaway slave notices, and so forth. Next, please. Within the first 6 months, I was able to identify about 30 points of interest in our county that told the Underground Railroad story, document 3 safe houses, and 6 routes of escape. And then Montgomery County Historical got a grant to publish my paper as a booklet, which was pretty cool. Next, please. In May of 1996, I decided to further my research, this time by foot, and walk one of the routes that I had documented as passing through Montgomery County by just taking to the road and following it and seeing where it would lead. So in May of 1996, I walked from Sandy Spring, Maryland, to St. Catharines, Ontario. About 6.5 weeks, I walked up to 25 miles a day. Stopped in towns along the way, asked people what they knew about the Underground Railroad. People put me up in their homes, shared family history, community stories, documents, and so forth. You can see me on the top left, promo. I promise I did not dress as a freedom seeker for the whole journey. But I did ship myself in a wooden crate to see what an escape would be like. And I made it to Canada. And then had the opportunity of working with Oprah Winfrey. Another story for another time. Next, please. All right. So what do you do with facts, data, information, research? After the 96 walk, I really wanted to take the story of the Underground Railroad and turn that into some type of tangible connection with a modern audience. And so I incorporated the Menare Foundation, Inc. We established the Button Farm Living History Center in Germantown, Maryland, which is a 40-acre farm in a 6,000-acre state park, which interprets the story of plantation life in Maryland and the Underground Railroad. So we grow the crops that were grown in Montgomery during the time, which are planted, cultivated, and harvested annually by school children. We have educational programs and outreach, and also do heritage tours, not only in Montgomery, but across Maryland, especially on the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Byway on the Eastern Shore. Next, please. In the upcoming year, we have some interesting projects that will further expand on this history. Next year, of course, is the nation's 250th anniversary of its founding in 1776, which is also the founding of Montgomery County, September 1776. So we have a dual celebration. And Montgomery History, for instance, has a project it's launched called Unfinished Revolution. And so this isn't just talking about those, soldiers during the Revolutionary War, but the 250 years of Montgomery County history that was created by a whole variety of different people. So we'll be doing events at the farm. One of those events will be bringing the Harriet Tubman Beacon of Hope statue to the farm. If anybody has ever seen the statue in front of the Dorchester County Courthouse in Cambridge, a replica of that statue is coming to the farm next September and October. We are also launching our cabin quarter project, which is to do a scale reconstruction of the cabin you see, which was a former enslaved family's cabin located in the park that we're in. And it will be a hands-on experience which will depict the private lives of African Americans between sundown and sunup. So what were we doing when we weren't working for, other people? How did we thrive as a community and so forth? So look forward to that. And then one more, I think we have one more slide. Yes. Next May will be the 30th anniversary of my 1996 walk to Canada. And so thank you. So it took me about 2 months to figure out, well, how do I commemorate that walk? And then I'm like, I walk again. So I will be walking the same route from Sandy Spring, Maryland to Canada in May 4th through July 4th. I'll have a walk team. Every week we'll do community activations in the different cities along the way. And we will also be taking with us on the journey the Harriet Tubman Journey to Freedom statue. If any of you have ever seen that, we're going to tow Miss Tubman the entire way of the walk. Yes. So we're looking to do outreach and partnerships with the communities. We might be able to bring her over to Annapolis, just saying. We're using this 30th anniversary as a call to preserve history, African American history. We can't let the powers that be stamp that out. So look forward to seeing some of you, hopefully, on the road. Thank you.
Congratulations on all of that great work.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to visiting the
Thank
farm.
you. And apologies, I have to run, pick up my mom.
Okay, thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay, I know we're running a little bit behind, but moving back to the Heritage Trail, as Mr. Dr. Obikili mentioned, the UNESCO Routes of Enslaved Peoples Trail, Enslaved Peoples in Paris, has set up a network to support the preservation of significant places that have been identified since the program began. Maryland has identified 16 documented ports of entry in Maryland. We were one of the most enslaved states in the country. And we are fortunate to have one of the founder of the African diaspora in our midst at this time. And so we have, working with the governor, established the Dr. Joseph E. Harris Maryland Routes of Enslaved Peoples Trail. And that is established in December of 2025. And so at this time, I'm going to ask Phil Brady, our museum designer, exhibition designer extraordinaire, to just share a little bit about that trail. 2 minutes. And then we'll hear from Dr. Harris.
Dr. Bailey, thank you for inviting me here and for all the work that we've been able to do together. It's always been challenging and powerfully transformative. My name is Philip Brady. I'm a principal at the PRD Group, which stands for Planning, Research, and Design. We are museum exhibit designers. The work that we do encompasses a broad variety of projects, but mostly focuses on telling America's history. Our largest projects actually historically span from before this country existed all the way up through today. We aim to tell a thorough, honest, and inclusive story, because that is what leads us to an understanding of how we together became the nation that we are today, good and bad. The project that Dr. Bailey mentioned fits within those parameters. If I can quote Lonnie Bunch, first director of the National Museum of African American History and Culture, African American history is American history. We know that Africans, enslaved peoples, arrived on the shores of Maryland. And we know that they left an indelible impact on the people, the history, the riches, and the culture of this great state. And although we can't separate African American history from American history, that African American history typically has not been given its due. We all know this. This project aims to acknowledge that history and hopefully to celebrate some of it to the best that we can in this very, very small project. We're very, very fortunate to be able to lean on the great research and work of Dr. Harris, who understood that that European perspective on the African slave trade was a bit myopic, and he saw a much larger African story about an African diaspora. And he understood that there were very, very powerful connections between people and places. His work, everything he did is celebrated in what we do. There are 16, as Dr. Bailey mentioned, there are 16, maybe we can switch to some of these slides. There are 16 different ports that were shown, that have been identified so far, where we know that African enslaved peoples arrived. We are going to try, through this project, to place a marker, a wayside as we typically refer to them in the industry, that addresses that larger global story, a Maryland state story, and also a connection to local history in these 16 different places. It's through those connections and addressing that and acknowledging that these places existed that we can hopefully increase people's awareness and create a transformative experience. Our corporate motto in our company is inform to transform. It's only by creating these waysides, creating the opportunities for people to engage with this history, that we can further discussion, understanding of our common cultural heritage. So, what you see up here, maybe we can switch to the other slide really, really quickly. This is just an overview of, there we go, that one right there. So this shows what this looks like. It's very, very simple. This is a very small project, hopefully an impactful one. There would be one of these signs at each of these 16 locations. Let's switch to the next one. On here, you see 3 groups of text and 2 maps. On the lower left, you see a map of that global diaspora. Then you see on the upper right a map of Maryland. Maryland is part of this globe, and people from around this globe arrived in Maryland. We have a statement about that African diaspora. We have a statement about Maryland.
and a different, at each location, a different statement about how that ties into this local history. And we're hoping that people will come by, visit these, maybe do a heritage trail through all of them, and begin to learn, begin to ask questions. At the lower right is an invitation to people to engage in the website of the Maryland State Archives and to learn more. There's very, very little that you can do here. But if we can strike a note of curiosity, get people to engage, get people to appreciate, and want to ask more questions, there's places for them to go ahead and carry on their curiosity and their research and learn more. So that's what this project is about. Again, Dr. Bailey, thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this project, and thank you all for inviting us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, for taking the time. I know he's very busy schedule to come up and share the information about
Busy thanks to you.
But yes, so we are excited that we are now at the point of launching this major effort. In addition to actually the signs and the information, we will also be doing intensive research, not only about the history, but of the cultures that have developed around these places of interest in terms of the slave ports of entry into Maryland. As I mentioned, we are so fortunate. He doesn't like for us to share his age, but he is actually, are you 96? 96-year-old scholar. Actually, he had a conversation with Dr. Obikili, and Dr. Obikili said he sounded just like my lecturer in college, so he is still lecturing to us all the time, and so we're very proud to have him here to just make a few comments about his map and his work. A few comments, 2 minutes. Dr. Harris. I'd like to also recognize Dr. Harris's daughter, Joanne, who came to join us today. Joanne.
I have to say that I really appreciate that introduction. It's been a long trail for me, and a surprising reaction to the public generally. First of all, let me say that I owe more than I can ever return to my family. Joanne just mentioned, my wife, unable to be here today, but has been with me for approximately 60 years. So in a certain sense, the trail began when I was in graduate school, Northwestern University, where I met her, and that was in the 1960s. The 1960s. Africa was not prominent in the curriculum or schools at that time. But there were a few markers at that time that were available to us. People who had studied Africa in spite of the fact that it was not in the curriculum of our school. And so it was that I decided that I would make a contribution to the classes that I enrolled in by seeking places where Africans had migrated over several years. And so it wasn't until I began to teach at major institutions, predominantly white institutions, where I can remember my very first class in Pennsylvania. I spoke to a group of about 500 people. And at the end, a young lady stood and smiled and said, "I've never heard about you. I've never heard about Africa, and I wonder why." And that was very encouraging to me, because that meant that there was a field to be developed, and that I would devote my life to trying to identify the places where Africans had migrated over the years, not just as slaves. That would be, of course, the major part of it, the migration of slaves, so that at the end of my studies, I raised money from a number of sources, foundations, black and white, who supported my travels with my family. My wife, Rosemary, and I had just gotten married after graduate school. Shortly thereafter, I had my family. So we together, in many instances, traveled, and I located places where Africans had been settled or had settled over the years. And that ended up in a very significant way of making a contribution to the teaching, expanding the teaching about global history, so that Africans were incorporated in several ways through my publication and through the map that you have someplace. Or you will have, I brought several maps. And I'd like to speak about that in a very special way. I guess things happen at a particular time. UNESCO had emerged after the war and had decided to establish an educational program, the head of which was a Senegalese, Mohamed Mbo, who became a director of the African slave group, and contacted me through one of my publications and contracted with me to go to various places I had identified and to begin the publication of what became the African Diaspora Newsletter. Unfortunately, I'm in the process of moving, but this is a copy of that. And I brought it especially because that director just passed a few years ago. And he wanted to identify places throughout the world where Africans had settled. And I did the research, and this became the publication. And it appeared in French, Spanish, and of course English. And I have a copy of this that I will leave with the committee to use as they may in their research. I think I would like very much to show you broadly what this is. It opens up and will be available, I would hope, to show the location of the various countries in which Africans migrated, both as enslaved people and over the years as free persons of color. And what that map did was to show us that the migration of Africans as slaves and as free people extended not only throughout the Americas, but into Asia. And I visited a number of those places over some, I don't know how many years, but one day at Williams College, I sat and decided that I would publish this site. Am I taking I would hope that this will become available in some of the publications that you have. I have not shared these because I'm in the process of moving, but I did have this particular copy, which happens to be in Spanish. It then became the basis for the African volume in the general history of Africa that appeared, funded by UNESCO. And that represented the first time that a series of publications by people of African descent throughout the world, along with others who were interested in the subject, had been published. And that became a part of the series known as the General History of Africa, which appears, I'm not sure how many languages now, but I retired from that project about 15 years ago. But over the period of time, that publication appeared in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and it made a special effort over the years to include African language. It now appears in Yoruba, in Hausa, as well as English, and in Arabic and Yoruba. So that's a major contribution that I have lived to see, and I guess I should accept the identification, I guess, as a relic of the past. But I do enjoy that I can do that and participate in this way by showing the global presence of African people, which happens to be the title of my first book. I don't know if it's still available, but because it's been published and recognized and in some areas translated. I am honored to be here. I guess I can say I was not as aware of the situation in which I would appear. I know Dr. Bailey very well, and I appreciate her, but she had begun a project that I did not know much about. We had worked together on other projects, and I'm just honored to be here, be part of this effort, and I want to thank all of you for sharing this moment with us.
so much.
Relative tax.
Is anyone else feeling as inspired as I am? Wow. We've really started this meeting in a bold way. Thank you to each of our 4 guest speakers joining us from other countries in the world, much less showcasing Maryland's impact around the world. This has been a powerful gathering already in Montgomery. At this time, we're going to transition to our reports, so you'll hear some of the standing work that's ongoing from across the Commission, as well as the remarkable work of our staff who steward the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum. And to kick us off in that would be our most capable director, Chanel Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I will stand up here. All right, so I will be giving the director's report primarily on the work of the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, but there will be some intersections with the entire agency in and of itself. So you should know that the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture is Maryland's state commission on Black history. We were the first ethnic commission in the state ethnic commission in the country, legislated in 1969, many say in reaction to Dr. King's assassination. We are a product of the Civil Rights Movement, we are a product of the Black Power Movement, and we continue to use, to research, to share African American heritage, of course in its connection with the diaspora, to inspire others to be greater agents of change in their communities. And we're so delighted to be here, right here in Montgomery County. This report will cover the majority of Q2, October and November activities. Next slide. So this quarter was pretty good. It was pretty good. We achieved 241,000 total visitor engagement, the majority of which were online engagement. That's 37% towards our annual goal. We also submitted for close to 400,000 in grant applications. So far, we've received 87,500 already in support of this year's exhibition and educational programs. The African American Heritage Preservation Program grant, which you'll hear more from Commissioner Patterson, we received 78 applications, and we've had $15.3 million in eligible requests. In addition, lastly, all of our artists, our historical objects and artifacts and archives have been confirmed for our blockbuster opening in Black History Month. Mark your calendars, February 7th, okay? She speaks Black women artists and the power of historical memory, which I'll talk a little bit more in this presentation. This is in response to America 250. Next slide. So financial growth. So this might be your first public meeting, but in every public meeting that we're going to do this for the next 5 years, we're going to be talking about our 5-year strategic plan. We have 7 priority areas. The number 1 priority area for our 5-year strategic plan is financial sustainability and growth. So our financial foundation is strong. You will hear more from Commissioner Adams about our the Finance Committee support, but just a quick snapshot. We are 65% of our FY20, we've spent 65% of our FY26 appropriation of $1.7 million. And we are nearly, we have allocated for capital repair $3 million from our capital budget. This quarter, we launched a strategic financial planning initiative, which we will create a 5-year financial plan for our agency to not only sustain what we're doing, but to grow and diversify our resource for greater reach and capacity. Next slide. So this financial planning process is in 3 phases. A revenue audit, also including a multi-year projections in Q3 and Q4, and a final presentation of this plan at the end of the fiscal year. This cross-functional effort includes our financial committee from the commission, thank you, commissioners, the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum Foundation representatives, donors, and staff working together to ensure long-term sustainability no matter who is in office in the federal government. Read between the lines. All right, slide 5. Priority 2, educational innovation. So, our after-school program in partnership with the Housing Authority of Annapolis, we have secured $30,000, that's 75%, to taking our after-school program of middle schoolers, high schoolers, most of which living in public housing in Annapolis, to, drumroll please, Senegal. We are going to Senegal this fiscal year. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Yes. So this is such a powerful program, and how apropos to have Dr. Harris here, who helped popularize the study of the African diaspora in this country. We are going to Senegal on a cultural experience where students will be connecting their Black history in Maryland to the greater diaspora. And we're so excited about that, and they are too. The next slide. Priority 3, dynamic historic storytelling. So I mentioned She Speaks, and I do want to give special recognition to our incredible curatorial staff at the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, our curator of exhibitions, Martina Dodd, and our exhibits manager, Leslie Rose. This dynamic duo, along with community partners and our incredible agency staff and commission, are planning our flagship exhibition, She Speaks, Black Women Artists and the Power of Historic Memory, centering Black women voices and the founding of this country and the shaping of this state and country. Like I said, this is going to be I'm saying for the first time, this will be a multidisciplinary exhibition like none of it that you've ever seen, where 10 prolific artists will be in conversation with incredible archives of Gloria Richardson and the original speech that she was supposed to read and recite at the March on Washington, to African American women dating back to the 1700s who were property owners and entrepreneurs and civil rights leaders. So we're really excited about this exhibition. So this exhibition, we have partnered with institutions such as Morgan State University's Jelma Museum, the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. We've also had some really great recognition of our current exhibition that closes at the end of the month, so in the next couple weeks. Y'all better see it. Sacred Spaces, featuring the artwork of Jabari Jefferson. We had a great documentary with WETA Arts and PBS, and Maryland Public Television, and so much more. We also acquired the portrait of Charity Folks Jr. How many people know who Charity Folks is? It's okay if you don't. Of course you do, Leslie, you're the curator. Of course you do, Mr. Harris. So Charity Folk, she was enslaved in Annapolis, manumitted by the Rideouts. She became a property owner in Annapolis, and the museum the land in which our museum stands on was once owned by Charity Folk. Her family would sell the property to the congregation to build Mount Moriah AME Church in the 1870s, and later on, 100 years later, it became the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum. So we have a portrait of her daughter, which was drawn in the 1850s. Her daughter, Charity Folk Bishop Jr., also, like her mother, became a property owner. So her descendants donated the piece to the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, which will also be on view at the She Speaks exhibition. Next slide. African American Heritage Preservation Program. So we're going to be hearing a lot about this report by Commissioner Robertson, but we are so excited that this year we had a incredible number of 78 exhibitions from 21 of the 24 counties in Maryland, requesting over $15 million. I do want to recognize Alex Anderson. Alex Anderson is our grants research specialist. Let me tell you, this is the woman in charge, okay? Alex, this is your first year, right, with this grant cycle, and it was such, if you have not volunteered or if you're interested in volunteering to be a grant reviewer, it is phenomenal. It's such a phenomenal process. It's a 2-day rank and review session with community members and commissioners looking over a breadth of African American heritage projects, preservation projects throughout the state. So thank you, Alex. Next slide. Collections and archives. We've transferred over 100 archival boxes from the Verda Welcome collection. Now raise your hand if you know who Senator Verda Welcome is. All right, that's good. That's really good. Well, with this project, more people are going to learn more about her. So Verda Welcome, her legislative office is in Baltimore City. We were awarded a grant from the Association of African American Museums and the National Park Service to acquire and process her collections. We have our archivist here. Alan, raise your hand. Yes, great job. We are almost to full completion of this project where we will be actively collecting her legislative archive and her community service archive at our museum for public access and research. Next slide. Promoting visibility. So our digital reach this quarter was 108 across all platforms, with 30 media and media mentions and a viral Benjamin Banneker birthday post reaching 16,000 views. Like I said, we also had incredible coverage from the WETA Arts, PBS, Maryland Public Television, Artwork, Artworks, documentary, and other local outlets. We're also, this is an important note to the Commission, we're also restructuring our marketing operations department, marketing and communications department for greater efficiency, as our director of marketing will be transitioning to a COO position within our agency. Next slide. Priorities 6 and 7, infrastructure and leadership. So as far as infrastructure, really talking about the museum's facility. Now, if you haven't been to the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, it is an architectural marvel. Our historic wing was built in 1874 by a congregation of African Americans just 10 years after emancipation. This is a historic wing. It still has, it's on the National Registry of Historic Places. Our modern wing, which was built in 2006, holds our exhibition spaces, an incredible foyer, and our permanent exhibition, Deep Roots Rising Waters. So right in the heart of Annapolis. Now, as a state agency, we are free 99. And we give great tours and again host groundbreaking exhibitions for public access and view. But having a building is expensive, okay? So we have completed critical fire safety and an HVAC maintenance work totaling over $56,000. Our major HVAC replacement is underway at $300,000. For FY27, we're requesting funding for our permanent, this is our legislative request. We are requesting from the General Assembly funding for our permanent exhibition, which is really the state's exhibition on Black history. It is over 20 years old. So with that, it definitely needs a redo. We did a great feasibility study to really research what the public wants to see in this exhibition, highlighting the history of Harriet Tubman, our new namesake, Black women's history, the diaspora, and more contemporary movements in civil rights history. This also includes a library and research modernization to expand our library into a state-of-the-art research and archival research center, and major facility renovations throughout the facility exterior as well. On a leadership front, I mentioned that Jan, where are you at, Jan? Did she step out? She's always working. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. We'll be transitioning to COO, Chief Operating Officer, in spring 2026, and we are so excited, Jan. Okay. When I tell you Jan is the glue, she is the glue to keep all of this running. So thank you, Jan. Q3. Next slide. So Q3 priorities. Now we're in Q3 now in December. So from December to February, here are some snapshots of our key priorities, which includes completing, further developing our multi-year financial plan for our agency. This includes diversifying our funding portfolio in partnership with the foundation, and creating a 5-year projection of our expenses and work throughout the state of Maryland. Securing funding for our Senegal after-school program trip. We only have $10,000 left to raise. We will be putting out a campaign on Giving Tuesday. So if you want to give to the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, all you got to do is go to our website, or, you said what?
Giving Tuesday is tomorrow.
Or Giving Tuesday is tomorrow. You can give today or you can give tomorrow. But we are almost there. And we're also launching, mark your calendar again, the She Speaks exhibition that includes, of course, our marketing campaign to promote this exhibition and educational program series. Our programs are like none other. They are primarily grant funded and made possible by donations. A lot of times folks think, well, you're a state agency, you know, it's all in your state budget. That is not true. That is so not true. Our state budget primarily covers our staffing and building facility, but it's because of your donations. It's because of contributors such as yourselves from grants, foundations, and individuals. And every dollar counts supports our exhibitions that centers Black history in our state. Our educational programs afforded to young people throughout our state to know, learn, and understand their history as a tool for self-empowerment. So I just want to recognize that. So if you can give, please do. Also, priorities, Q3 priorities includes completing our HVAC replacement and finalizing, of course, our COO transition planning. And I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Commissioners, might there be any questions that you have for Director Johnson about the report? Okay. And we'll have a little bit of time towards the end too, if so. At this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Adams to deliver the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm going for time. I'm going to run through my report. Commissioners, you do not have a copy. I apologize, but we'll make sure it's distributed to you all. The Finance Committee met on November the 20th to review the financials for the Commission, to review the current status of the capital budget. I'll talk about a little bit on the commentary on the Verdon Welcome project and review of financial statements and a chart of accounts. So just to summarize, for FY24, we have an appropriation of $1.7 million, which Executive Director Johnson spoke of in her report, that has been applied to its operational budget. The appropriation balance as of November the 19th is at $1,128,338, and most of that appropriation consumption has happened to date. And additionally, regarding financials related to staffing, there are no staffing vacancies. Related to the capital budget for the grant for FY24, again, is Chair Johnson, as mentioned, has been spent down, which was $3 million, and for a couple of encumbrances that included about the tune of $300,000 for replacing the HVAC system, and these are timely repairs, just general maintenance. Removal and install of other preventative measures of the backflow preventer, which was about $40,000, some fire safety modernization, close to $10,000, and some other condensing unit maintenance, and this is all general maintenance toward the spend down of that capital grant. There is $16,000 earmarked for the Verda Welcome Project, which has already been mentioned. And lastly, well, almost lastly, for FY27, there's state appropriated funds to be requested, but those have been completed and submitted to the Department of Management and Budget. And the funds for the Chief Operating Officer, which we know will happen in the spring as well. So there were no additional requests, just in anticipation of what's currently going on with the state of the government related to cuts and hiring freezes. And lastly, our CFO, raise your hand, John. So John is new. I'm going to call him a new hire in my other HR space, but he's doing a great job. So he's working with the State Treasurer's Office of Insurance Division to seek a reimbursement amount of $37,850. That's less of a deductible to recoup funds that we paid out for water damage to the museum, office, and kitchen areas. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Now, I'll be delivering the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum Program Committee report on behalf of Commissioner Pinkston, but if you're on and still able to hear us, please let me know if there's additional insights you'd like to provide. So, one item at the very top to note for everyone's awareness, the Ancestral Remains Cemetery Research and Preservation work is now within the Public Relations and History Committee and is chaired by Commissioner Lewis. Commissioner Lewis and Malik Khalid have been working together and have hired 5 community historians from all over the state to work in each county where the human remains were found. And the names of those historians are Alexander McDougall, Antonio Austin, Hess Stinson, Mark Auslander, and Dr. Alicia Norwood. And those locations are Anne Arundel County, which is Deep Creek, Gott Cemetery in Calvert County, Chapel Point in Charles County, Bennett's Point in Queen Anne's County, and Twin Oaks in Wycomico. The orientation with the MAC Lab has already taken place, so each historian has begun the process to ensure that the ancestors recognized at each of these sites are honored with an official burial place and one that's historically relevant as well as spiritually appropriate. The Harriet Tubman Lifetime Achievement and Awards Subcommittee, which is chaired by Commissioner Pinkston, vice chaired by Commissioner Adams, and former Commissioner Cheryl McLeod and Sabri Hassan also are members of the subcommittee. Their last meeting was on October 7th, so just after we last convened in our October public meeting. And nominations for this year have been completed. They went through a 2-step process where the name and the bio of a candidate was submitted, and then this committee reviewed both the letter and other detailed information along with the nomination. Mark your calendars for March 21st, 2025, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. That'll be the date of the ceremony to honor these awardees. It also coincides with the spring 2026 celebration of Harriet Tubman's birthday. So it's going to be a pretty awesome day for us to be in community with one another. And it'll also include programming that dovetails into She Speaks, what Director Johnson covered a little bit earlier. An update on the symposium subcommittee. The date of the last meeting was November 24th, so just last week. The next meeting will occur midway through next month. In October, Commissioner Lewis had moderated a panel discussion between Director Johnson, our exhibition manager, Leslie Rose, at the 8th Annual Benjamin Koros Conference. And next steps are to be working towards planning towards the symposium occurring at Bowie State University. The dates have yet to be confirmed. We're in conversation with the staff at Bowie State, and we're aiming for the fall of 2026. Our current work includes developing language for an open call to be distributed in the spring of next year, as well as a sustainable format for the proposals to be received for current projects, specifically those that are supported by grants administered by the Commission. And lastly, we'll complete a grant application to secure funding for the next iteration of the symposium. So we're already looking very far ahead. And I'll just underscore this for the other commissioners here. If you're interested in joining the planning for the symposium that's slated to take place in the fall, please reach out to Commissioner Pinkston. She is eager to receive questions, concerns, comments, ideas. This is a collaborative effort and one that folks all around the state look forward to annually. So I will yield my time here to Commissioner Pinkston if I might have left anything out, but that was a great report, and I thank everyone on this committee.
Well, that sounds good. Thanks so much for doing the report, sir.
Absolutely. At this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Brian Morrison to deliver the Public Relations and Historical Committee report.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And we got to do better than that. I'm a school teacher. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
That's moderately better. But we'll move forward just in any case. The Public Relations and Historical Committee report the report was filed on November 20th, 2025. And generally, we operate in three main areas. The first area is the publication of the pendulum, the mouthpiece or the publication that provides information to the community about the work of the Commission, and also serving as a secondary goal, primary goal, but another goal, is to promote the history of African American history and culture in the state of Maryland. And so we do two things. That's the first area that I'll be reporting on. The second area is public support and statements. We're also responsible, our committee is responsible for responding to requests for support and issuing public statements and other tasks in that general realm. And the third area, which I'm glad to have something to report about, is our third area of social media. Those are the areas my comments will be on. The pendulums, the fall issue of the pendulum, just for some context, the fall issue of the pendulum was the last issue of the latest volume that just came back into life, so to speak. And this particular issue has had had a very, very good response. We had 144% increase in our clicks, in our click-throughs, and we believe this is primarily due to the dedicated e-blasts and highlights that we've been receiving in the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum weekly newsletter. And again, this is primarily due to the work of Jan with her work in the market and the other marketing folks in the department there. So again, the fall issue we had great response to. Our next volume will be coming out. We've made an adjustment. The first issue of the next volume will be coming out in February. It will be coming out on the day of our next meeting, February 2nd, at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. So we look forward to that. Just for our commissioners, January 2nd is just going along, looking at our publishing timeline. January 2nd is when we're going to need any input from all project leads and committee chairs for the committee updates. Please get them to us no later than January 2nd. We also, as far as the pendulum goes, another one of our initiatives is to have print copies available along with our electronic copies. And we met in October with museum staff, Jan, Malik, Martina, and Commissioner Gill on fundraising strategies to make the publication of the pendulum sustainable over time. And we'll be following up with that sometime before the end of the year. So that's it. That's pretty much it for the pendulum at this point. Again, our second area of focus, public statements and public support. As always, we highlight our call to action that was written by Chair Amen. That is, you'll find in each copy of the pendulum in response to our post-election statement. We also have another project that we have been asked to assist in with the Maryland Department of Transportation. The highway markers around the state that pertain to African American history and culture. There's been a review and about 58 of them require some kind of update or modification. We've been tasked with being able to adjust 4 per year, and we just finished our first round from last year, and we've identified the 4 that we'll be working on for this year. Those 4 are the University of Maryland Eastern Shore and Princess Anne and Somerset counties, Bowie State University in Prince George's County, Freetown and Anne Arundel County, and Green, Halltown, and Port in Wicomico County. And I'd like to shout out Commissioner Gill and Commissioner Glaze, who stayed on our last meeting for a very extended amount of time to go through the process of identifying those 4 from the list that the commission initially provided, a list of 12. That's been the process. The full commission recommends a list to the committee, and from that list we narrow it down to the 4. So those are the 4 that we're looking at this year. We're still in the process of developing our guidelines for marker review. As we go through this process, we're learning quite a bit about what it takes to do that. And we'd like to also to acknowledge 2 community members that have joined and assisted with this process, who've also volunteered on the African American Historical Preservation Program Grant Committee, and that is Asia Bard and Sharita Thompson, who assisted in the process as well. In terms of letters of support, we are working on the letter of support for the Dr. Joseph E. Harris Maryland Routes of Enslaved Peoples project. There's some language that we're ironing out, and the same goes for the Hagerstown Choice Neighborhood Program letter of concern that was requested by former Commissioner Turner. We're in the process of finishing the appropriate language for those 2. And I'm glad that Commissioner Money in the report for Commissioner Pinkston shared that Commissioner Lewis will be leading up or heading up the Ancestral Remains Project, which now sits in our committee. And finally, this fine gentleman right here, Commissioner Woods, has taken on the long vacant role of social media chair. And we have been in conversation about our planning and look forward to some good things coming in February to introduce us to the world, to reintroduce us to the world. And I think That's it for this floor report. Do you have any questions?
And thank you so much, Commissioner Morrison. And just to dovetail off of the Public Relations and Historical Committee report, I'd be remiss if I didn't amplify our annual Kwanzaa Day celebration on December 13th. It is a beautiful time to be in Annapolis during the month of December, and we have a free full-day Kwanzaa celebration at the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum. I'm sure you have flyers going around. It is a free public event for people of all ages and backgrounds. We have an African market, performers, incredible food will also be served. So come on down. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, at this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Patterson to deliver the AAHPP grant report.
Good afternoon. I was talking to myself. In any case, I'm going to, because of what comes after this, the report will be brief, and then more information will come when I actually present the resolution for the awarding of the grants. The commissioners and the community reviewers met on Thursday, November 6th and Friday, November 7th, 2025 to rank the FY26 African American History and Preservation Grant applications. There were 8 commissioners and 10 community reviewers who reviewed the 74 applications for this award cycle. The committee is recommending 29 applications be funded, with 27 of them receiving full funding and 2 receiving partial funding. The commissioners did receive the resolution that will be shared with you all today. They received that on November 21st, and they had the opportunity to access all of the applications prior to today's meeting. At today's meeting, we need to vote to fund the projects, and then to submit that to the Maryland Historical Trust Society, who will vote and then send it up to the state of Maryland. Our next committee meeting will be on December 8th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. via Zoom, where we will evaluate the process of the application review, how the rank and review meeting went, and think about what our work is going forward as we prepare for the next application cycle. That's just the report. I'm going to the...
Thank you.
Great. That was part of my tactic. Then I wouldn't have to keep holding to the mic. Let me first begin by thanking the variety of participants who made this possible. And I want to start off with thanking the community reviewers. This is the second year that we've had community reviewers who participated in the evaluation of the grant applications prior to our meeting in November. They, like the commissioners, are required to complete a orientation session, which happened in September. If you are interested in becoming a community reviewer for FY27, then you can check on our website, the Commission's website, or the Maryland Historical Trust website in the spring, around April. Last year, the applications opened in April and they closed May 31st, so it's about a 2-month period. And so we welcome community reviewers, and if that's something you're interested in, please be on the lookout for that, and I can include that information in subsequent reports as well. The second thanks I wanted to give is to Alex. Chanel did earlier, but Alex has been instrumental in not only doing the preparations behind the scenes, but helping to prepare things for today, and generally being affable and acclimating to the role, and being very flexible and thoughtful in her delivery and execution of her responsibility. So Alex, thank you, and I appreciate you for that. As well as to the MHT staff, to Chanel and the museum staff for hosting us, and then of course to my fellow commissioners who participated for both the first time and for those who have returned. So the way that I'm going to proceed is we have a resolution that is what the commissioners will vote on to accept. So I'm going to read the names, the counties of the 29 applicants that were funded, and then I'm going to go into the resolution, and so that we can just move there, and then when we get to the end of the resolution, it'll be time to make the motion for the vote, and I think that that would be a way to proceed. When I read the resolution, you will get some of the background information that Chanel has already alluded to, but it'll be more specific to what was actually funded. And so if you notice some variation there, that's actually why. So let me begin. I'm going to say this. For the first 27, you counted for the first one I'm going to read, these are all fully funded. So I'm not going to say they requested this and were funded this. What they were funded was what they requested. All right, so we are going to begin. Commissioners, if you want to follow along, I'm basically going in the order of the full packet with a couple of exceptions, and I'll note where the exceptions occur. So I'm going to read all of the fully funded ones first, so that I can do what I said, and then the partially funded ones will be the last two, and I'll indicate when I've transitioned to that. What that does mean is if you're reading in order, we're going to, I'll let you know where the skip is. Okay, the first one, Galilee United Methodist Cemetery, $38,000, St. Mary's County. United Methodist Church, Carroll County, $250,000. The Sanaa Center Project, Baltimore City, $250,000. The Margaret Jenkins House, Baltimore City, $226,000. John Howard House, right here in Montgomery County, $250,000. I will come back to Mount Pleasant Acres. St. James AME Church, Harford County, $137,000. Havre de Grace Colored School Museum and Cultural Center, Harford County, $147,000. Points Rocks Colored Cemetery, Frederick County, $129,000. Old Monkey High School, Frederick County, $250,000. West Liberty United Methodist Church, Howard County, $170,000. Charles Sumner Lodge number 25, Grand Army of the Republic, Kent County, $40,000. American Hall, Washington County, $115,000. Alexander Chapel United Methodist Cemetery, Charles County, $108,000. Orchid Street Church, Baltimore City, $250,000. Boys Village of Maryland Cemetery, Prince George's County, $200,000. Catoctin Furnace African American Cemetery, Frederick County, $73,000. Shoes Memorial Church and Cemetery, Anne Arundel County, $135,000. Brewer Hill Cemetery, Anne Arundel County, $250,000. Goshen Farm, Anne Arundel County, $51,000. Anna Murray Douglas Heritage and Visitor Center, Caroline County, $250,000. Ash Memorial Cemetery, Harford County, $132,000. Frederick Douglass Summer House, Anne Arundel County, $149,000. Mander House Museum, Kent County, $247,000. Sumner Cemetery, Allegheny County, $45,000. American Legion Manny Scott Post 193, Caroline County, $250,000. Hopkins Educational Community Building, Howard County, $250,000. I'm skipping St. James for 1 second, Commissioners. Chesapeake Lodge number 48, Jesse S. Jenks Lodge number 137, Harford County, $250,000. And so all of the ones that I just read were the 27 that were funded at the full requested level. The remaining 2 were I will give you what they requested and what they were funded as. Mount Pleasant Acres Farm in Caroline County requested $250,000. They were partially awarded at $226,000. St. James Free Methodist Church in Wicomico County requested $250,000, and they were funded at $219,000. And so the total of those funded, the 27 full and the 2 partial, was $5 million. And so when I go through the resolution, we'll talk about the fact of how many counties were applied, how many counties were represented, and you'll get all of those details as well. Yes, go ahead.
This is really great. Could you read the Mander House? I think I may have heard that wrong.
Yes, hold on one second.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. The Mander House, Kent County requested $247 and was funded $247.
It says here $250.
Hold on one second.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. We're on 2. I have a condensed version, so that's fine. And I have the...
Yes, 250.
Okay, thank you.
It's a typo?
I just want to put that on record.
Okay. We'll correct the record of that. The Mander House, $250,000, not $247,000. Thank you.
Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
I have a question about St. James Free Methodist Church, page 9 of Wicomico County. The condensed report we have says the requested funds were $219 and the grant, the recommended was $129?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay, I think I heard $250.
Okay. On the second thing? Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Other questions, point of clarification. We were working from 2 different, 2 sets of documents, so I apologize. But the money will be accounted for accurately. So that is, you can rest assured on that one as well. Okay, this is the fiscal year 2026 African American Heritage Preservation Program Grants Awards. Resolved that the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture concurs with the African American History Preservation Program Committee and the recommendation to the Secretary of Maryland Department of Planning to fund those projects in the A, recommended for funding category, and AR, recommended for funding category, should additional funds become available, as further described in Exhibit A, African American Heritage Preservation Grant Chart for fiscal year 2026. And so that was what I was reading from. I was reading from a different version, but that is what the information was coming from. What I can tell you is that the 4, if they are of interest, I can share that with you as well. In the case that for some reason people are not able to accept the funds or whatever the case might be, there is a reserve list, and so we put forth 4 other projects that could receive funding should that be the case. And very briefly, one is the Wayman AME Church, which is in Frederick County. One is Metropolitan United Methodist Church, which is in Baltimore City. One is Malone's Methodist Episcopal Church, which is in Dorchester. And the other is the Prince Hall Grand Lounge, Lodge, which is in Baltimore City. And part of what that funding would be available would be proportionate to what wasn't taken, right? And so what they asked for may not be met for that very reason. Resolved that the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture concurs with the AAHPP committee in the recommendation to the Secretary of Maryland Department of Planning to maintain a reserve of $100,000 to be used for emergency project grants during the fiscal year 2026. Background. The African American Heritage Preservation Grant Program was created during 2010 session of the Maryland General Assembly. The program is administered as a joint partnership of the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture, a unit of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, and the Maryland Historical Trust, an agency of the Maryland Department of Planning. The purpose of this program is to encourage the identification and preservation of buildings, sites, and communities of historical and cultural importance to the African American experience in Maryland. Eligible applicants for program funding include nonprofit organizations and local jurisdictions. Business entities and individuals may also apply for program grants when seeking funds for a preservation or development project that serves a high public purpose. Eligible activities include acquisition, construction, and capital improvement of buildings, sites, or communities of historical or cultural importance to the African American experience in Maryland, as well as pre-development costs directly associated with an acquisition or construction project. Such pre-development costs may cover historic structures, reports, or studies, the preparation of plans and specifications, necessary archaeological investigations, and reasonable fees for structural design, engineering, and other special services. The AAHPP currently has $100,000 in emergency funds and is allowed to hold up to a certain percentage of grant funds per fiscal year. Emergency grants are not true, quote, emergency grants, in that they can quickly fund a project. Emergency grants are out-of-cycle grants that would still follow the same steps when it comes to reviewing and approving a grant. The only part of the process that can be expedited is that the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture and the American Historical Trust Board review with an executive meeting. To qualify for an emergency grant, the project could not have been reasonably foreseen before the close of the last grant round, and it can't wait until the next grant round. So sort of that year in between when one grant closes and one begins. 74 eligible grant applications were received by July 1st, 2025 deadline, and one application has been withdrawn from consideration. The total eligible funding request was over $14.9 million. The majority of the funding requested was for rehabilitation, with the remainder for pre-development or new construction. Applications represented 21 counties and the city of Baltimore. 27 projects are recommended for full funding, and 2 projects are recommended for partial funding for a total of $5 million. The AAHPP review panel has evaluated, ranked, and recommended funding levels for eligible applicants in accordance with the program project selection criteria. Today, the AAHPP committee will be presenting their funding recommendations to the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture for action. Following the board's action, the recommendations will be forwarded to the MHT board and then to the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Planning for final approval. Having said that, I move that we accept the resolution. Is there a second?
So moved.
One exception, just a couple items to the resolution.
You want to add things to the resolution?
Strike.
Strike from the resolution.
Yeah. In line 3, it goes to a little bit of line 4-2, a unit of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. I'm making a motion to strike that.
Why?
We are.
I'm only asking that because
that is a good question.
It's a good question. Y'all
That's
have
a very
this,
good question. And I should have caught it earlier, so please excuse me. We are no longer a unit of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, as we're an independent state agency. So this was just boilerplate background from a couple of years ago. So yeah, so please strike that.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments before the vote?
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All commissioners in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you. I wanted one other last thing. So the applicants don't know they've been awarded yet. And so if you could help them not know until they are officially notified, we would appreciate that too.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. And a round of applause for this committee.
I have a question.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson, what is the notification cycle going to look like?
You know, that's an even better question. So it's my understanding that on Thursday, right, Alex, on Thursday, you'll make this Thursday. So 2 days after you will make your contributions for Giving Tuesday, Alex is going to present the version, the resolution and in more detail of the project descriptions to the MHT board. And then they presumably will approve it, and then it goes to the Secretary of Planning, who ends up ultimately making the notification. So yeah, so part of my understanding is that we don't know what their timeline is, and that could be in flux. But in the past, by February, I know that the people had known because we've had people come to some of the meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Alex?
Sure, I just wanted to provide more detail about the process. Notifications will go out by the end of December, and then we also have the Board of Public Works meeting as well at the beginning of January, and so announcements should be made sometime shortly thereafter, and including the press release as well as the announcements made on the MHT blog and our social media sites.
There were no negative votes for
Thank you all. We have one more committee report, and then we'll move to the last section of our agenda. Commissioner Wilson, if you're still on, in the interest of time, I'm going to yield the floor to you to cover the book drive, and then
Sure.
commissioners, in your materials for today, you'll see the report. Please dig into that. Coming out of our October meeting, this report is of our newest committee, the Government Affairs and Community Advocacy Committee. And while we're still evolving, I do want to recognize who is on this committee since it is the newest. So Commissioner Wilson and I are migrating over from the book drive committee to this as a formal and no longer ad hoc committee work. We're also joined by Commissioner Bailey, our host today, Commissioner Daly, Commissioner Mohan, and Commissioner Wood. So Commissioner Wilson, I'll defer to you, and then I'll pick up on the back end.
Thank you, Commissioner Moni, and I'll be quick, I promise. Good afternoon, everyone. The third annual statewide book drive has officially kicked off as of November 1st. So at the beginning of November, all 23 county-wide library institutions were invited to participate. So far, we have 3 out of those 23 county responses represented. In support of these efforts, the committee met with MAPLA, the Maryland Association of Public Library Administrations, to kind of rally them in support of our cause and to kind of see who the key players are and who we need to contact and work with and put a face to a name, so to speak. This month, in December, we will be conducting our second attempt of outreach. That includes alternative community partners that can serve as donation sites and hosts in lieu of library institutions, as well as more personable approaches per county to ensure that we are reaching as many touch points as we can. If that means phone calls and in-person meetings, then that's what it's gonna have to be. And so with that, I asked my fellow commissioners who are in PG County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel, Howard, Washington, to help me in spreading, highlighting, and reinforcing our efforts to have a successful book drive this year for our third annual year. And so I'll be reaching out to my fellow commissioners to just be strategic and be more intentional starting January. I'm out of the country on the 15th, so that we can kind of hit our marks and get more people involved in previous years. And that's all I had. Commissioner Modi, if you had anything else to add, or if any other commissioner on the committee, on the subcommittee had anything else to add, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And for members of the public, as well as other commissioners, we always receive feedback at the end of a cycle, and one of those last year is folks really want something universal that they can plug and play and get started on short notice. So on africanamerican.maryland.gov/book drive, you'll now be able to find the newest poster, which was developed by Commissioner Wilson and Jan Lee, as well as a toolkit. So please go to that page, see what is available, recommend that to those who are working in this field in your county, and at the very bottom of the page is an FAQ sheet. So there's probably questions that resonate with those that are top of mind for you, and if yours is new, we'll add it, make sure that it's reflected so that others around the state can benefit from that. And to close out the committee report for Government Affairs and Community Advocacy, Director Johnson did cover a couple of items that are ongoing in terms of our legislative outreach, modernization of our museum, funding our non-capital program that was signed in May, House Bill 1010, for a $500,000 annual appropriation. We are also considering some new ideas that come in from the public, members just like yourselves, which include advocacy days on Lawyers Law in Annapolis, as well as saving funeral homes records. So as you hear of new bills that might be launched at the beginning of the upcoming assembly, which are sometimes over 1,000, or you know of efforts that didn't pass in the previous session that you would like us to consider, the same holds true for the Public Relations and Historical Committee as they're reviewing letters of support. We welcome that. And our goals, at least for the next year, are to inform policymakers, shape policy, and empower advocates just like yourselves. We want to double the geographic presence of the statewide book drive, so Commissioner Wilson spoke to where we've started already in the past few weeks, but we have lots of areas across our state map that have just been voids in the first 2 years. And we need as much effort, enthusiasm, and support here in Montgomery County as some of the other counties that Commissioner Wilson named explicitly. And we have 4 non-commissioners, former commissioners, who are serving as regional engagement leads. Those commissioners are former Commissioner Reggie Turner, Edwin Johnson, Clara Small, and Sharon Parker. They're based in each of the 4 regions of the state. And they are tasked with setting up our first ever commission alumni corps. So we're trying to think about ways to mobilize previous commissioners who are definitely dedicated still, but before, during, and after their term of service on the commission. But as volunteers, and a way for us to orient the strategic plan that Director Johnson kicked off our meeting addressing. So with that, I will yield the rest of this report for each of you to see in what's printed. And we did cover our approval of grant recipients from the new business section. So at this point, we'd like to acknowledge our public attendees. So,
One question. Commissioner Princeton and any other commissioner would like to answer. Commissioner Bailey, where could they view the map online based on Dr. Harris's research? That was the question.
Dr. Harris, the question was how could they get access to the map online?
Let me get that.
Pardon?
We will discuss and then together.
Yes, we will notify you, or we can actually email it to you, and we have copies. But you can also, we can also give you personal copies as well.
So a mic will be passed around this room. You will look directly into the camera there. Please share your first and last name, where you might be traveling to Montgomery County from, and what brought you to the meeting today.
Hello, my name is Terry Cranston. Talk. Sorry. My name is Terry Cranston, and I work with Dr. Jim Bailey on the project, and I am from the area.
Don't be shy, speak up.
My name is Rosalie Morris. I am Dr. Bailey, one of Dr. Bailey's assistants, and we have worked thoroughly on this program, and we will continue to do so.
I'm Diane Hendricks, and I just came with my sister. It was kind of impromptu, but I'm glad I came. It was very enlightening. My name is Donna Nelson. I'm really surprised because I'm one of the recipients, and I wasn't expecting it to hear about it. I represent the Point Rocks Colored Cemetery, 1879. It's been a long journey.
Hello, my name is Martina Dodd. I'm the curator of collections and exhibitions at the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum. And since I have the mic, I just want to mention that we have some copies of the Sacred Spaces catalog. It's for sale. This is a great way to support the museum and to learn more about our exhibitions and collections.
Hello, I'm Linda Paez. I'm here both to represent the volunteer work I do with the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum, and also to thank the commissioners for voting for the application from the Goshen Farm Preservation Society, where I chair the African American History Committee.
Hello, I'm Dio Akinche, a Silver Spring resident, and I work with Dr. Bailey on the project Cultural Linkages between Black Marylanders and Civil Rights Movements abroad.
Good afternoon. My name is John Perchio. I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
Hi everybody, my name is Tasha Crawford. I am the marketing coordinator for the commission and the museum, also known as James R. Kane, aka Jane Jr. Nice to see you all today.
Hello, my name is Soraya Hall, and I am a marketing and communications intern for the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum.
Hello, Alexandria Anderson. I'm the research specialist and grant administrator for the African American Heritage Preservation Program.
Hi, my name is Joanne Harris. I'm visiting from Washington, D.C., here to support my father, but also interested in learning more about the commission. And I would love to receive your calendar of events, because I'm very excited about having heard about some of these events that you have going on.
I'm Joseph Harris, and I've already been identified.
I'm Donald DeGrasse, and I'm a Silver Spring resident, and I learned about, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I learned about the event through Tricia, and she's involved in the Civil War Roundtable, and also Dio Kinsley, and I'm really very happy to be here, and I really profited by the experience.
Hi, my name is Alexis Hill. I'm from the National Archives and Records Administration in College Park, Maryland. I'm an archive specialist. I work at our formerly still picture branch there. I'm also the daughter of a former member of the commission. His name was Dr. Walter B. Hill, Jr. I'm his daughter. What brought me here, I've been following what's happened with the commission. I went to one board meeting maybe a few years after he passed, and I haven't been to it there ever since, so I figured I'd just come and see what's happening. So I'm glad the fellowship, if that's in his name, is continuing, so thank you.
If you could please stand so we could see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kirsten Geddes Downs. I am the Director of Systemic Reform at the Maryland Office of the Public Defender. I work primarily with issues combating mass incarceration
particularly for African Americans in Maryland. I'm also the president of the Monumental City Bar Foundation, the charity arm of the oldest African American bar association in the state of Maryland. And so all of these issues are particularly pertinent for my work.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leslie Rose, and I am the exhibit manager for the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan Weirdak, and I'm the Verda Welcome Processing Archivist for the Banneker-Douglass-Tubman Museum.
Great afternoon. I'm Kelly Dominique Hudson. I'm a resident in Montgomery County, a parent, business owner, civically involved. I'm also a member of the African American Advisory Group, and my curiosity led me here. I was coming from the World AIDS Day breakfast, and I stumbled over and I found information to be quite relevant and encouraging. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Alexandra McDougall. I'm one of the researchers with the Ancestral Remains Committee, so we work in Anne Arundel County. If you have connections to Anne Arundel County, please track me down, try to find descendants. And I'm also a graduate student at Columbia University. My work focuses on enslavement in Maryland, and I work on the osteological collections and archival work. And I'm coming from Baltimore County, or Baltimore City, sorry, I'm new here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Locklear Nehemiah. I'm a neighbor of Dr. Jean Bailey. I am I'm co-chair of the Sacred Heart Cemetery Restoration Committee in Bowie, Maryland, and that's the cemetery that just recently uncovered over 600, well, 2 years ago, uncovered over 600 unmarked graves. We've since discovered that 850 of those are names of those who were enslaved or formerly enslaved on Jesuit plantations. I'm also a descendant of a woman by the name of Anne Joyce, who arrived here in 1670, probably at London town, and was an indentured servant, but her papers were stolen and she was kept as a slave for life. So I have lots of connections to this history, and really, I'm so proud of the work you all are doing here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aaron Rice. I'm the founder and CEO of VR CoLab, based in Baltimore City, and I'm hooked on coming to these meetings. The last meeting that I came to on the Eastern Shore, I thanked the Commission for writing a letter of support and recommendation for a project that we're doing with Preservation Maryland, a grant we submitted with Preservation Maryland to digitally reconstruct a slave quarter at the Thompson Farm in Dorchester County, and I'm coming back to this meeting to say that we have been awarded that grant thanks to the letter of support and recommendation from the Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Michelle. I'm a neighbor, and I'm here on the invitation from Commissioner Bailey. I'm also on the board of the Association of Oldest Inhabitants of DC, which is celebrating its 160th year this year. It's the oldest historical association in DC. And I'm on the advisory commission of the Silver Spring Town Center. And and Pat Tyson and I are on the board of the AOI of DC as well. And I'm a resident of Montgomery County, but born and raised in third generation Washingtonian.
Good afternoon. I'm Patricia Tyson. I'm a resident of Silver Spring. I live in Littingsville. Some of you may have heard it's created in 1853. It's one of the oldest black neighborhoods in Montgomery County, and I'm working on a number of projects, but one of them is creating a museum of the history of Littingsville, as well as I'm a Civil War reenactor, and I'm with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington. So I get to go to schools and other places to talk about Civil War history, and I enjoy what I do. I just have to tell you that when I was in school, throughout my educational process, I hated history. I couldn't stand history. And I guess God must have been laughing at me saying, your time has come. So I'm Dio, I was invited by Dio Akinchie. She and Donna were coming today to this, and so she knew I would be interested in this commission because I've never heard of you before. Thank you for your work.
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Logan. I'm the President, Executive Director of Montgomery History, the county's historical society, so welcome to Montgomery County. I'm also a member of the county's Remembrance and Reconciliation Commission, as well as the Emery Grove Land Displacement Task Force, looking at the destruction of the Emery Grove community in the early 70s as a result of urban renewal. So it's been a huge pleasure to be here today. I've made some great connections, and I look forward to working with many of you in the future. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Janice Hagee. I'm from Prince George's County. I'm president of Sankofa Impact Incorporated and have been working with Dr. Bailey and others on the trail, Dr. Harris, in your honor. One of the sites of that trail, on that trail, is Nottingham, a former port and tobacco inspection station in Prince George's County. We know now that there were about 12 slave ships that landed in Prince George's, and that always surprises everyone. We know about Annapolis, we know about Sauterley, Baltimore, but there were slave ships that landed in Prince George's County, and we want to make you aware of that. There are 3 other sites that we have identified and researched, and one of them is on the Potomac. The others are on the Patuxent River. I wanted to make the commission and others aware too of a project we are working with the University of Maryland, the Bowie Ancestors Project. There were remains of slaves discovered in the 1960s, and those remains have been entrusted to the University of Maryland during this time. So we're working with the staff at the university to do some genealogical research, to make the connections to those interned in a former slave burial ground, and to find to work on a process and to show respect for those 7 enslaved. We anticipate that they will be re-interned at the historic cemetery at Mount Nebo AME Cemetery. The church on that land is now 125 years old, so we're celebrating that as well. Thank you.
Thank you all. And before we close the meeting, we would like to remind you that everyone
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so exciting to hear all the work that you are doing as a community, as individuals, and it's just so heartening to see the level of interest. I was wondering if those of you who are working on these projects would be amenable to providing us your information. Perhaps we could put it on a website so that other people would know to contact you if they're interested in working on the same thing, and sort of connect with you, and also, you know, just so the community can see all the work that's being done. I would love that. if you are all amenable to it. So if we want to start today, those of you who might be working on these projects, if you could just leave your names, emails, the name of your projects, or just give us your contact information and we will get in touch with you for more information.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Mohan. And Commissioner Morrison, that might be a good plug for Real Estate in the Pendulum if you all have events that are coming up, certainly to close out the year, but as you're thinking about the spring and fall next year, please let us know so that we can share it as we publish. So, as we're closing out, we did want to remind you that everyone's invited to lunch who's here in attendance, so don't scurry out and miss out on that meal if you're hungry for it. But we seriously hope that your joining us today has been indicative and hopefully reflective of how you start and close out the year during the holiday season, and that is with moments that are abundant in healing, mindful reflection, restorative connections, and hopefully collective reclamation, which is certainly what each of us up here and online are committed to. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. May there be a second. Commissioner Mohan? All right. All in favor? All right. The December 1st public meeting is now adjourned.